Hi everyone, in this video I want to show you a rapid game played between Grandmaster Wesley from USA and Grandmaster Anton Korobov from Ukraine. This game was played in Superbet and Blitz tournament held in Bucharest round 6. We had a very instructive game because the first official champion of official random started the game very aggressive. He had a strong attack over Anton but failed to find the best attacking move at the critical moment, and his opponent managed to get back into the game with a decisive attack. Let's see the game, where Wesley started with e4, c5, we have the Sicilian, knight to f3, d6, bishop to b5, check, bishop to d7, blocking the check, and this is known as the Canal Sokolov or Nimzovich-Rozolimo or Moscow attack. White took the bishop and black recaptured with the knight. Usually in this position black takes with the queen and the knight will develop to c6, controlling some squares in the center. White continue with castle, knight g to f6, queen to e2, queen to c7, preventing e5, but in the opening we should first develop pieces and the queen should be the last piece to develop. More common is to play e6 or g6, developing the darker bishop. This move, queen to c7, was played by Korobov last year in Wijk against Vidit, and the game ended in a draw. After queen to c7, Vidit responded with queen to d2. I'll leave the game in the notation. In our game, Wesley played b3. This is a good pawn move because he wants to develop his darker bishop. Black continue with e6, bishop to b2, bishop to e7, d4, c takes on d4, knight takes on d4, a short castle. With this move, white connected his rooks and his opening is done. c4, controlling d5 square, and this pawn structure is known as the Maroczy bind. Black played x6, preventing white from placing the knight on b5, attacking the queen, knight to c3, and with this move white finishes opening. Black position is cramped, so he needs to exchange some pieces. The knight from d4 is very active, so a good plan is to exchange this piece. Black played knight to e5 with the intention of playing knight to c6, king to h1, rook f to e8, a to d1, knight to c6, f4, and knight takes on d4. Black brought his last rook on the central file and he wants to free his position by playing d5. White played rook to d3. Maybe he wants to relocate his rook on the king side. Queen to c6, controlling d5 square for a fourth time. In this moment black controls d5 square 4 times while white only 3, and you might think that e5 is possible. The problem with the e5 in this moment is that the diagonal of the bishop from the b2 will open, and together with the rook he will have a winning attack. Let's see that line. After d5, e takes on d5, knight takes on d5, the bishop is open, knight takes, rook takes, check, king to f8, queen to h5, threatening mate on f7, and if the queen tries to defend this square after f5, the game is lost. Having in mind this threat, black can defend in advance g7 pawn by playing in the original position bishop to f8, but in the game he played another move, h6. Usually you should be careful with moving pawns in front of your king. Moving a pawn should be done only if other choices are not working. Black saw that white will push e5 and he wanted to place the knight to h7. After this move Wesley pushed e5 and here black has the option to place the knight, but he took this pawn, and the drawback of this move is that the file of the rook is open. Black moved the knight, and looking at the candidate moves in this position and having in mind that in any position we should move our pieces forward in the enemy territory to attack or take something, the two moves that we should consider are queen to g4 and queen to h5, because they attack something. queen to g4 is threatening mate, and queen to h5 is threatening to take this pawn, or the one from f7. Which is the most forcing one? Of course, queen to g4 is the most forcing because it's threatening a mate. Let's see what would happen if white goes for this line. After this move, black can defend the mate with bishop to f8, bishop to a3 attacking the bishop, g5, h4, bishop takes on a3, h takes on g5, h takes, queen to h5, queen to c7, defending f7, knight to e4 with the threat of playing knight to f6, and the game is over. He cannot stop this move. After white checks, black will recapture. White will take the pawn with check, followed by mate. In the game, Wesley opted for queen to h5, and of course black cannot defend against. Rook takes on f7 and queen takes on a6. Let's see what happens if black tries to defend this f7 pawn with rook to f8. The queen will take this pawn, bishop to g5. White will gladly offer the rook for the two minor pieces. Queen takes, b5, queen to g4, b takes, knight to e4. Again threatening this check, f6, f5, e takes, rook to d7, b takes on c4, rook to b7 attacking the bishop, check, rook b takes on f7, rook takes on x7, rook takes, knight takes on f6, and white remains a piece up. So defending the pawn with rook to f8 is not good. In the game, bishop to g5 was played, and here white captured the pawn with the rook to f8, trying to exchange the rook, and here white could have defended the rook with rook g to f3, and by taking on f8 he removed the tension between the pieces, and removing the tension between the pieces should be done only if it gives you a concrete advantage. In this case, white removed the pressure from black king. Black recaptured with the knight. Another option was to take with the rook and threaten mate, forcing white to take some action, come back with the queen or with the king. Looking at all candidate moves that white can play here, we can see that with the queen or with the queen and the rook he has no logical moves. The knight doesn't have a good square. The bishop can go to a3 attacking the knight, and the most forcing move is h4 attacking the bishop. Let's see if this is good or not. After h4, at the first glance we see that black goes forward attacking the move, so this is not an attacking move. Usually attacking moves should make our opponent to go back, not forward. If we continue this line, we will see that this is not good. After rook to f3, rook to d4, knight to e2, attacking both pieces, rook to d1 check, knight to g1, and queen to c5, and white will be mated soon. So before playing a move, we should always consider our opponent's most aggressive replies. This idea is very powerful, and if you don't follow it, you'll have a big chance to blunder. In the game, Wesley saw that the only attacking move, h4, is not working, so he brought the bishop into the game to a3, which is correct. If attacking moves are not working, we need to improve our activity or decrease our opponent activity. After this move, black continued with bishop to f4, rook to f3, queen to e4, threatening mate. So white went back, and queen takes on e5. Black established the material equality, and he's proposing the queen exchange, and in the same time he's attacking the knight. So white defended the knight, and he's attacking the bishop for a second time. But we can see that white is no longer attacking. So what happened? What was white's mistake? The key moment for this game was at move 21, where white did not went for the most forcing move with queen to g4. From there, black managed to turn the game into his favor, and now he's doing fine. Our system thinking should be very clear. First, you look at every piece that you have and see what forcing moves can do in opponent territory. And if you don't find any forcing move, then activate your pieces. I know that I repeat myself over and over, but we should familiarize yourself with this thinking system and apply it in our games, and you'll see that results will start to appear. Black defended with knight to g6. Beside this move, black cannot take on h2 with the bishop because the knight is lost after the bishop takes the piece. What are white candidate moves in this position? There are no checks or logical captures. With the queen and the rook, there are no logical moves. With the bishop, he can go to b2, making some discovery over black queen. With the pawns, he can play g3, attacking the bishop. We see that black pieces are very active and we need to do something. We need to neutralize them, to restrict their activity, and the principle of neutralization tells us that if our opponent has pieces in our territory, we should attack them and force them to go back. So the best move in this position is g3. In the game, white played another move, knight to e4, and the drawback of this move is that the defender of this piece can be attacked. And after knight to h4, white played queen to g4, attacking the knight, but black gladly took this knight, and then his rook will be able to enter the second rank with a decisive attack. White took the knight, rook to d2, threatening mate on g2, queen to g4 defending. The problem with this move is that the queen can be harassed until she will no longer be able to defend this g2 square. Better was to defend with the rook on g1. Black continued with h5. The queen has to go to h3, queen to e2, attacking the rook. Another way for black was to play rook to f2, and if white takes, black will deliver mate. Also, with this move, black queen defends h5 and e6 pawn. White queen is very short of squares. White continue with rook to g1. And what forcing move does black has in this position? With the queen and the bishop, we don't have any logical move. With the rook, we can attack the queen or take on a2. If black attacks the queen, we see that she doesn't have any squares, and if she tries to go to h4, black will reply with g5, trapping the queen. So the queen has to take the rook or play g3, and after rook to d2, threatening queen to e5 check, white will lose the queen or he will get mated after this line. So in the original position, rook to d3 attacking the queen was winning. In the game, black played b6, a move that is not doing anything. He's waiting white to see what we will do. He's forcing him to make a move and make a mistake, since white doesn't have too many good moves. After b6, white continued with bishop to b4, attacking the rook, and now black attacks white queen, queen to h4, and we saw this line earlier, and after g5, white queen is trapped and Wesley resigned. A possible continuation would be rook to e1, rook to d1, rook takes, g takes on h4, not queen takes on d1, because the queen will go to e1 and we'll have a draw. And after this move, we'll have rook to g1, h3, bishop to c3, bishop to e3, g takes on h3, forced king to f7, moving from the check, and it's mating a couple of moves. White cannot move the rook because queen to f3 will follow with mate. Queen to f3, rook to g2, queen to f1, rook to g1, and queen takes on g1. So both players attacked each other, but they did not play all the best moves. We saw Wesley at move 21 failing to play the most forcing move, and Anton managed to turn the tables and won this game. After the last rapid round, Korobov was leading the tournament, but after the Blitz portion he placed only on the 5th place. So this was the game between Grandmaster Wesley So and Grandmaster Anton Korobov. If you found the video useful, click on the like button, share this video, watch other games from my channel, and leave some comments and suggestions in the comment section. See you next time. Bye.